What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Carl. I'm the Consumer Review Lad, and I just consumed AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite on TBS, January 5th, 2022 episode. I'm going to review it on this podcast. And like I said, this is the very first Dynamite on TBS. It was on TNT since October of 2019, and they've moved it to TBS. TNT will still have AEW Rampage and 4 quarterly specials, one of which will be this week, the Battle of the Belts on Saturday night on TNT. So just like their match at Winter is Coming, the opening match for this AEW Dynamite, the very first Dynamite on TBS, the very first Dynamite of 2022, it's Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Adam Page for the AEW World Championship. And of course, the Winter is Coming match ended in a 1-hour draw. So this time they had judges in case it ended in a draw, and people have been speculating all week on who the judges will be. Just bringing in maybe Ric Flair, maybe Bret Hart. The judges ended up being people that we kind of already know AEW has, so there aren't like big reveals or big surprises. It's Mark Henry, Jerry Lynn, and Paul White, which the three of them are fit to be judges. I feel like if those are going to be your judges, you should have just announced it when you announced the judges instead of having people speculate and build stuff up and just have nothing happen, which tends to happen a lot with AEW. In the history of AEW, people tend to build stuff up more than when AEW is really even advertising, and then they get let down when it's not this big surprise or big reveal or something like that. But these are three, qualified judges for this match. Anyways, Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Adam Page 2, the sequel. The last match was at Winter is Coming, and of course ended in a 60-minute draw, which I believe surprised a lot of people. I don't think they imagined that AEW would put on a 60-minute draw match on TV, but that's exactly what they did, and it was a very great match, possibly match of the year last year. I think it's my match of the year last year. It was such a good match. So the sequel, been looking forward to it. I think everyone has been looking forward to the sequel, and it absolutely delivered. It did not go an hour long. No, this time they cut it down to, I think it was less than 30 minutes actually. I don't have the exact times for any of the matches tonight, but I've been hearing 29 minutes or 30 minutes, so somewhere around that time frame. But this match was a bloody match. The last match on Winter is Coming, Hangman got some color, he got some blood, but this time he got a lot more blood, and Danielson about halfway into the match, I want to say, got opened up and was just pouring blood off. So this is pretty much a blood and guts type match for the people who collect AEW figures. They have the Blood and Guts series. I could see that these two wrestlers will probably end up being figures in that Blood and Guts series. I could see a 2-pack of Hangman Adam Page and Bryan Danielson with their gear and the blood, and that would be an awesome toy to collect if you collect the AEW figures. But this match absolutely delivered, and Hangman Adam Page ended up winning via the Buckshot Lariat. I gave this match 4 3/4 stars, so 4.75, which is the highest I've given any match so far in 2022, and I've watched both Wrestle Kingdoms, Day 1 and Monday Night Raw, and this has probably been, out of all my matches, especially today, because I watched Wrestle Kingdom Night 2 today, and the semi-main for that, Kenta versus Tanahashi, I ended up giving 4 3/4. In the main event, Will Ospreay versus Okada, I also gave 4 3/4. This one I give 4 3/4, and I think out of those 3 matches, I probably prefer this one. So this is probably my match of the year so far in 2022. And there's no real tease of what they're going to end up doing next. Some people I saw were speculating online that maybe Moxley will come out and return and maybe challenge Hangman Adam Page, or maybe someone else will. No one came out. Hangman Adam Page got the win, and then just moved. The Dynamite episode pretty much moved on, which it's very hard with these Dynamite episodes when they open up with such big matches to move on to the other matches. I think it's really hard to get the crowd back into it. And these other 2 matches were pretty much squash matches, but it's very hard when you open up with pretty much the best match you're going to see that night. Next up, we have an Acclaim promo. They're pretty much doing a music video, they said, next week. I think it's going to be about Darby Allin and Sting. So we have this Acclaim versus Darby Allin and Sting feud ongoing. Next up, we have MJF versus Captain Sean Dean. Sean Dean, of course, gets the jobber entrance. And pretty much right after the match starts, CM Punk runs into the ring. Just runs from back into Gorilla, runs into the ring, and pretty much MJF leaves the ring. He runs out, runs away. So they're kind of standing there. Ref Aubrey's trying to get MJF to come back in. I think Shawn Dean's kind of maybe upset with CM Punk, or maybe he's trying to get MJF to come back in. I'm really not sure. Then CM Punk ends up taking Shawn Dean, giving him the GTS. The match ends in a disqualification, and the win for this match goes to Shawn Dean. So MJF has been pretty much undefeated on Dynamites, I think, last year, and maybe even going forward. He hasn't had too many losses in AEW, and this is going to be a loss against him. So it seems like CM Punk's strategy is to, in which after this match they had a promo about. Before I get into after the match, I will talk about the match rating. Even though this was barely a match, I still rate it. I gave it a quarter star, so 0.25 stars for this match. It really wasn't a match. MJF and Shawn Dean, I don't even think they touched at all in the match, and then CM Punk just hit a GTS, but there was some storytelling, so 0.25 stars. After the match, they did a promo battle, so CM Punk grabs a mic, and he tells MJF this is going to happen every time he wrestles. So every time he wrestles in the ring, CM Punk's going to come in, attack his opponent, give him a disqualification, give him a loss on his record until MJF pretty much faces CM Punk. One thing I liked about this promo duel is they use this, I haven't seen it really used before on Dynamite. If it has, it's been a while. They use it every time on Rampage for the Mark Henry interview segment, where they have one wrestler or group of wrestlers on the left side of the screen, the other on the right. They kind of did that here with this promo battle between MJF and CM Punk. I kind of liked it. I hope they do it going forward. I hope it's one of those new things they add when they have these promo duels with someone's on the ramp or on the stage and another person's in the ring and they're cutting a promo against each other. During this promo battle, MJF brought up Roddy Piper, saying that Roddy Piper at least main evented a WrestleMania, which Punk hasn't. And MJF even says he might even main event a WrestleMania in the future. MJF is doing that tease to where he could possibly be going to WWE in 2024 when he's a free agent. Punk tells MJF that he can go ahead and go to the other side if he wants, and he can main event night 4 of a buy one, get one free extravaganza. So just pretty much Punk just now trashing WrestleMania and trashing the new format for having a multiple night WrestleMania. Saying they could go to 4 nights. I don't think WrestleMania could go to 4 nights. It's possible, but I think 2 nights is probably going to be the limit. But who knows? Friday could be free, but they have SmackDown, so I think it's just going to be a 2-night WrestleMania. But he was definitely trash talking WrestleMania, the buy one, get one free part of that. MJF pretty much sets up a CM Punk versus Wardlow match for next week. So next week we get CM Punk versus Wardlow. Next up we have Chris Jericho in the ring cutting a promo, talking about being back on TBS, talks about 2.0. 2.0, they come out with a mic. They do their cut dueling promos. Jericho grabs his back. Daniel Garcia kind of like sneaks in to attack Chris Jericho. They all start fighting. Santana and Ortiz and Eddie Kingston come out and they kind of clear the ring. They're going to have a match on Rampage, of course. Eddie Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz versus Garcia and 2.0. Next up, we have Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly. They cut a promo about winning last week, and Adam Cole talks about how Kyle didn't really mean to kick him in the face. And then Adam Cole puts the Young Bucks over, helping them get the win last week. And Adam Cole sets up a match against Jake Atlas for Rampage earlier in the night. I didn't even put it in my notes, but AEW signed Jake Atlas, which had a lot of controversy on Twitter. I'm not familiar with Jake Atlas at all. I'm not sure why there was controversy for that signing or why people were even talking about the signing and surprised about the signing. But Adam Cole pretty much called him out, and he's going to have a match at Rampage. And now we're going into the 9 p.m. hour for AEW Dynamite. We have Wardlow versus Antonio Zambrano. Antonio, of course, he got a jobber entrance. This match... right before the match started, Antonio kind of walked out of the ring, and the ref and Wardlow were just having the longest conversation. I don't know what they were talking about. Spears went ahead and C4'd Antonio behind the ref's back, threw him in the ring, tells the ref to ring the bell. Ref rings the bell, match starts, and Spears just wants Wardlow to cover him. Just get the win. Just get the easy win. That's what Spears is like. Just get the easy W. Get the easy win. Don't have to work yourself. Wardlow's like, I'm not doing that. So he powerbombs the guy 5 times, and then he pins him by just putting a foot on his chest. I give this match 0.5 stars. It's been an average Wardlow match that we've seen the past few weeks on Dynamite. He's doing... of course, they're building up this feud between him and MJF, and he's getting over with the crowd by doing these power bombs. And it's the same thing. Shawn Spears tries to take over his hype, tries to steal some of his spotlight. So it's just the same thing we've seen every week. We have a segment about Leila Hirsch and Chris Statlander. They're having issues on Dark. Of course, we saw them wrestle Christmas night, and now they're having issues on Dark being in tag matches. So that's a feud going on in the women's division. Next up, we have Jade Cargill versus Ruby Soho for the TBS Championship. Of course, Jade Cargill comes out with smart Mark Sterling, who ended up getting ejected during the match. Jade ended up winning with an avalanche jaded, I think is what the announcer called it. It was a move off the top rope. It was like a slamming move she does, but it was off the top rope. And she ended up winning. I gave this match 2 stars. Jade is the first ever TBS champion, which I think a lot of people predicted going on when this was announced. I think it was announced almost in October. This was announced months ago. This has been a long tournament. And it's not been a bad tournament. It's been a great tournament. But I think everyone looked at Jade Cargill's, penciled her in that she's going to be the first TBS champion. I tweeted about that. I think she's going to be the first TBS champion. So this has been kind of a running theory that they're going to give the title to her. But of course, there was controversy last week with Big Swole and Tony Khan on Twitter. And Jade Cargill now getting the belt. That's causing more controversy on Twitter. People thinking Jade Cargill just got the belt because of that controversy, but I think a lot of people realized she was probably going to get the belt regardless. I mean, Ruby Soho's already taken some losses. Thunder Rosa is probably next in line for the AEW Women's Championship. It made more sense to give Jade Cargill this TBS championship right now because she's 20 now. She's 23-0, and they're kind of building up to be a Goldberg type wrestler. Even though she's green and even though she doesn't put on the most amazing matches, I figured they would give her the title to help build her up, and we'll see where they go with that going forward. But I don't think this was some sort of outcome because of what happened last Friday. I think this was the plan all along, and a lot of the AEW fans also on Twitter also predicted that too. And Ruby Soho, if she had the TBS championship, I could see it being kind of a working title where she could do like an open challenge and put on some good matches. But she can do that without the TBS championship. I don't think it necessarily puts her over too well. Next up, we have JR sit-down interview with Serena Deeb about her feud with Shida. I don't know why this feud's still ongoing, but it's still ongoing. And they set up a match for next week's Dynamite. I think this might be Serena Deeb versus Shida 4. I mean, the third one on Winter's Coming was a good match, and I thought maybe, I guess you could say because of how it ended, it left some room for interpretation on who's the better wrestler, so you could call for a 4th match. But it's kind of interesting that these two are still feuding with each other. And now here's where Dynamite really starts to get kind of weird. We have Malachi Black versus Brian Pillman Jr. Julia came out with Brian wearing an eye patch, and the match ended with Brian going for a move off the top rope, not the top rope corner, but literally just off the top rope, and he slipped and fell, and Malachi hits a black mass and it beats him. I give that match 2 3/4, so 2.75 stars. But the weird thing about this match is people online have been fantasy booking about this House of Black. Someone's going to debut for the House of Black. They keep talking about, I think, Brody King. I hear that name thrown around. And there's also speculation, even I've speculated, that maybe Julia is going to join the House of Black, because we haven't seen Julia. It's possible that when she got misted in the face, she's going to join. She didn't join. She was there with the eye patch. I don't think she did anything really involved with the match besides just looking worried. Brian, it was just a normal match. It was a good match, 2.75 stars, but it wasn't like an amazing match or weird storytelling match. Then after the match is over with, the Lucha Bros come out because they're kind of pissed at Malachi Black for, I guess, hurting Pac. And so the Lucha Bros come out. They're standing on the ramp. Malachi Black's in the ring. The lights go out. Oh, they're going to debut someone. And the lights coming back on, they switch places. Like the Lucha Bros were in the ring, and Malachi Black's on the ramp, and they're like, "All right, that's that. Okay, let's go to the next spot." And then the Lucha Bros ended up going back into Gorilla, and then coming back out for their match because they had a match with and Alex was with the Lucha Bros as well throughout all this, but they had a match. They had the main event match against Jurassic Express, or I guess they're not called Jurassic Express anymore. I keep seeing people talk about how they're not called Jurassic Express, they're called Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, and I don't know why. Jurassic Express is such a great name, even if it's a tag team, but I believe the speculation going on is that they're trying to separate Jungle Boy from that and try to make him more of a name, which, okay, so that makes sense. Anyways, after that, Malachi Black and Lucha Bro transportation, whatever that happened there with the lights going out. We have a Tony backstage interview of Ruby Soho. Britt Baker, of course, interrupts the interview. That's what she does on AEW Dynamite. Ruby tells Britt that she should prepare for Riho, and then that makes Britt Baker mad, so she attacks Ruby. Riho then comes out of nowhere and starts attacking Britt, and then the referees come out of nowhere and they break it all up. It's like these fights happen where the referees are just like huddled up eating like catering or something. They're like, oh, you gotta put their plate down and go break up this fight. They come out of nowhere. All right, we have AEW Rampage. I'll make my predictions on this podcast. I'll probably also make it on my Twitter at @consume_review. Adam Cole versus Jake Atlas, I believe is his name. I think I misspelled it here in my notes. Again, I don't know anything about Jake Atlas. I don't even know what promotion he wrestles for. I might have seen some of his matches, but it's not ringing a bell. And he got signed with AEW. This match, this match is going to happen on Rampage. I've already heard some news about this match that's not so great. I'm not going to talk about it till the Rampage podcast, so we'll see what happens. But very unfortunate news about this match. But this could be a good match. Possibly. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Daniel Garcia in 2.0 versus Eddie and Santana and Ortiz in a no holds bar match. This is going to be probably the main event. I think didn't they just fight like a week or so ago? AEW's been so good for so many years of just like not repeating matches. I feel like, maybe you give them, and they really aren't repeating matches. They're doing different formations. Like this is a no holds bar, but it's just like, okay, this is another kind of feud we've seen. Chris Jericho's back. I don't know if Chris Jericho's able to wrestle or what's going on with that. I'm sure he'll probably be ringside maybe, but that should be a good match. That's going to be the main event. We have Hook versus Aaron Solo, which of course we have QT Marshall promo because Aaron Solo is with the QT Marshall Factory, I believe it's called, and they had a promo for his match with Hook on a Rampage. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter versus Riho and Ruby Soho. So right now, looking at this, I'm going to go ahead and say Adam Cole is winning his match, which is probably going to be the opener. And I think that Eddie and Santana Ortiz are going to win their no-holds-bar match. Hook is, of course, going to win. But how surprising would it be if he didn't? How surprising if Solo got a win? That would be, imagine the heat. Imagine the heat if that happened. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter versus Riho and Ruby Soho. This is obviously going to be Riho pinning either Hayter or Britt Baker because they're fighting the next night for the title belts, and I will make those predictions on my Rampage podcast. So Riho and Ruby Soho, that team is winning. Who gets pinned, I don't know. It would make more sense for Riho to pin Britt Baker, but I could always see Hayter getting a pin also, but I really think it's going to be Riho pinning Britt Baker. Next up, we have Jurassic Express. They come out with Christian versus the Lucha Bros, who come out with Alex for the AEW Tag Team titles. And during my prediction for this match was Jurassic Express, which of course are not called Jurassic Express, no, they're called Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. I predicted they were going to win because this is the main event. It's the first match on TBS. Lucha Bros title reign has been all right, I guess. It hasn't been the greatest, and I think people are kind of just wanting to put the belts on Jurassic Express because they're hot, and I think they're, just give them the belts. And plus, it's the first main event on TBS. I could see a title change happening just to make it be like, oh, this is a must-watch show, So I predicted that they were going to win, and of course, this match was not the greatest at the end. It was a good match, but it was just had some unfortunate situation also. During the match, speaking of weird stuff, during the match the lights went out, but nothing happened. So they had these lights go out like they're teasing some House of Black thing or something going on, or maybe Malachi Black from the light switch backstage is just flickering in to mess with people. I don't know. The lights went out, they came back on, nothing happened. Jungle Boy I think he kicked out of the Lucha Bros finisher. I'm not 100% positive, but I think he did. If not, it was definitely a signature move. There was a table spot where Luchasaurus chokeslammed Ray, and it definitely messed up Ray's arm because Ray's arm bent in ways that arms aren't supposed to bend. It was very unfortunate looking. Possibly, I don't know. I'm not a medical professional. I'm hearing different rumors online. Hopefully it's nothing serious and Ray Phoenix can come back quickly. Ray Phoenix is probably one of the top 5 wrestlers on AEW. And that's even with their new signings. Ray Phoenix is a great wrestler. Usually his matches always are very entertaining, even if they're single or the tag team and the Lucha Bros. So we'll have to see what happens with that injury. Hopefully it's nothing serious. Hopefully he can return soon and be able to keep wrestling. And with the Lucha Bros or just the singles, like I said, Ray's one of the top 5 wrestlers, in my opinion, on AEW. All right, so we have, after Ray was kind of out of the picture because of that unfortunate situation, we had to go to a finish. We had to go home. And how did they go home? Well, we had Jungle Boy teasing a kill switch, and I'm not sure if I watched this right. I thought the fans were saying, like, no, like, don't do it. Don't do the kill switch. Why? That would be such a good finisher move. I don't know if I read that right or what the hell that was all about. But Penta didn't let him do the kill switch. He pushed him away. He's like, nope, you're not doing the kill switch on me, Jungle Boy. And then he was like, but you know what? I'm going to make you into Japan. And he went to do a Made in Japan on Jungle Boy, who actually countered it into a roll-up, and then the match ended on the roll-up. So I give this match 3.5 stars. Probably would have been a higher rating had that unfortunate injury not happened and how we actually got to see the finish, because after this happened, like, all these like heel tag teams came out to clap for some reason, and then the Gun Club was dancing to the music, and then the TV cameras just didn't know what to do, so it was really awkward stall for time, and they just showed like Chris Jericho up in the luxury suites, and they showed another wrestler, Malachi Black, in a seat, and then they showed some other random people, and then they showed Chris Jericho again. They were just showing all these random people for like the last, I want to say, 45 to 90 seconds, and it's so obvious that this was not how it was supposed to go. There was supposed to be something else happening. This match was probably supposed to go a little bit longer, and it's probably going to end with everyone clapping, but they had just to stall for time. Very awkward and just very unfortunate way to end the very first Dynamite on TBS. But beyond that unfortunate injury, and really beyond that unfortunate injury in the squash matches, it was an okay Dynamite. This really was, I would say, maybe a 2-match Dynamite. There's only 2 matches on this Dynamite that you would tell someone, oh man, you gotta check this match out. The rest of the matches were just kind of they're average, below average. But the first match in the main event, those were the 2 matches that were like, oh, these are good matches. And something I started doing for shows I've watched, because I started rating the matches, I started doing what I call the show rating, which is really the average match rating for the show. So I call it the show rating. So the show rating for tonight's AEW Dynamite on TBS, January 5th, 2022 is 2.29. Which means that the average match rating for the 6 matches tonight were 2.29 stars. And just to give you kind of a comparison of how this AEW Dynamite ranks up with some of the other shows I've consumed, and pretty much, I guess I haven't reviewed them, but I have consumed them and possibly reviewed them by rating them and talking about it on Twitter. Day one was 3.04 show rating. The Monday Night Raw was a 1.13 show rating, which means the average match rating was 1.13 stars out of 5. Wrestle Kingdom Night 1 was 3.03. Wrestle Kingdom Night 2 was 3.14. Overall, Wrestle Kingdom was 3.09. So this is right below, really all the, was right below the WWE Premium Live event, and also below Wrestle Kingdom. But let's be honest, it's because of those squash matches at half a star and those quarter stars, which I'll count for the show rating. That definitely brought it down quite a bit. In fact, if you take those 2 matches out and just rate the other 4 matches, you're looking at 3.25, which would be one of the best wrestling shows of the year so far. But I'm going to keep those in. It's 2.29. So far, the best wrestling show of the year, based on the show rating, is the 3.14 Wrestle Kingdom Night 2, which was awesome. Definitely the last few matches on that were absolutely awesome. The first match tonight on Dynamite was awesome, and the last match was okay. Unfortunate, but beyond the unfortunate of it, the match itself was an okay match. And now the the Jurassic Express, or actually Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, are now the AEW Tag Team Champions. So it's going to be interesting to see going forward how their reign is going to be. It's definitely obvious that AEW is pretty much trying to set Jungle Boy up to be a big single star. Jungle Boy is someone that could probably, if I were to say someone's going to be a TNT and an AEW World Champion, I could see it being Jungle Boy. But he might just skip the TNT title and go straight to the AEW World Championship. We'll have to see. Anyways, that is my review for AEW Dynamite, January 5th, 2022. I'd love to know what you guys think. Tweet me at consume_review on Twitter. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment down below. If you're watching on YouTube and you enjoy the podcast, click like. If you did enjoy the podcast, click subscribe. You might enjoy a future podcast. Anyways, my name is Carl. I'm the Consumer Review Lad, and this has been my review for AEW Dynamite on TBS, January 5th, 2022. Peace out.